Today we're going to be talking about the essentials of the Japanese language before you jump into immersion. First, there are no spaces in between words in Japanese sentences. Next, it is very important that you know the sounds and pronunciation of the Japanese language. Japanese has 5 vowels, a, I, U, E, O, and uses a mora-based syllabic structure system. A mora is basically a unit of sound that is the same as a single beat. This beat can be assigned a high or low pitch and is equal in length to all other beats. Take for example the very well-known word arigato, translated as thank you, which is often written in English without the u vowel at the end, but the correct way of spelling it is with the u. As you can see, each individual mora is broken down into equal lengths and is exactly 1 beat in length. Japanese has 3 different writing systems. The first 2 are Hiragana and Katakana. These 2 writing systems are phonetic, meaning each character represents a sound. Basically the alphabet, but instead of letters, they are characters. Also, instead of having multiple different pronunciations for each letter or character, like English does with the alphabet, each character can only be pronounced one way. This makes pronunciation in Japanese a lot simpler. Both Hiragana and Katakana are used to represent the same sounds. For example, let's look at the Hiragana character a and compare it to the Katakana character a. They look different, but they represent the same sound. So what is the purpose of having 2 phonetic writing systems if they represent the same sounds? Well, each of these writing systems are used to distinguish between semantic roles in the language. Hiragana is the most frequently used and can be thought of as the standard for Japanese writing. So most of all Japanese words are written in Hiragana. Katakana is less frequently used but is still important. It is used to write words imported from foreign countries. For example, the word America would be written in katakana characters Amerika. Katakana is also used for onomatopoeia words, and it is used to emphasize a specific word in a sentence. Confused? Don't worry too much, because you can learn to read both of these writing systems in just about a month or less, depending on how much you practice. I will introduce you to both of these writing systems in this video, but it is up to you to practice and learn. The last writing system is called kanji, and these are Chinese characters that are used in Japanese to represent a meaning. So while Hiragana and Katakana are phonetic and simply represent sounds, kanji can be used to represent an entire word. These kanji can stand alone or combine with hiragana and other kanji to create different words and ideas. Each of these kanji have multiple different pronunciations depending on what it is connected to, which is why it's difficult to learn. Let's take for the example the kanji hi, which means fire or flame. It is pronounced hi, but when you combine it with the kanji that means thing, incident, or trouble, it is pronounced kaji, which carries the meaning of house fire, forest fire, or any other fire incidents. Kanji words can be written in hiragana instead of kanji, but kanji is very useful in making sentences more understandable and readable. Remember when I said that there are no spaces in between words in Japanese sentences? Yeah, kanji makes it so that jumbled up hiragana is actually readable, because if you know what the kanji character means, you can understand where one word ends and one word starts. Before you start learning and practicing these writing systems, I recommend you install a Japanese keyboard onto your phone, computer, or whatever device you are using. I will leave links in the description on instructions on how to install the keyboard. As stated earlier, there are 5 vowels in Japanese, a, I, U, E, O, and every character is pronounced the same no matter what the word. The rest of the hiragana characters are a combination of a consonant plus vowel. So in this next row we have the consonant K plus the 5 vowels, so ka, ki, ku, ge, ko. Basically, this pronunciation stays consistent through the entire system, as you are just changing the consonant sound before the vowel. So the next row would be pronounced as sa, shi, su, se, so. Let's look at the next row, as there is an important character here. We have ta, and then we have chi. Now, it may be strange seeing the sound ch in the t row, but that's just where it is. If you are typing in Japanese, you can type T and it will give you chi. Just a little fun fact. This tsu character actually has another use other than representing a sound. This character can be shrunk down, called a small tsu, and represents a double consonant, which is basically 2 consonant sounds put together like KK or TT. Remember that Japanese is made up of sounds of consonant plus vowel, which means it should be impossible to have consonants back to back. However, this small tsu makes it possible to have a double consonant. In order to make a double consonant, you put the small tsu in front of the consonant you want to double. So for example, we have two characters, I and ki. If I wanted to double the k consonant, I would put the small tsu after I and before ki. This would be pronounced ikki. Basically, it sounds like a small break in between the words. Notice how in words in English such as that's, which have a double consonant, this T plus S in the back, when you pronounce that's, notice how there is a small break between that and the S sound. That's similar to how you would pronounce double consonants in Japanese. Let's look at this R row at the bottom here. In Japanese, the R consonant is pronounced like a combination of L and R. This is why many Japanese people have difficulties distinguishing between L and R in English. If you know how to pronounce the Spanish singular R, not the double R, then I would say it is similar to that sound, not identical, but enough to understand what sound it is. Let's look a row under, and there's actually an irregular character in this row, this wo character here. Now, wo is quite irregular as it isn't actually used in any word in the Japanese language. This character isn't actually pronounced wo at all. It is an irregular and is pronounced like o, like the vowel. So, what's the use of it here if there's already a character representing the vowel o? Well, it is an object marking particle that indicates the direct object of an action in the sentence. We'll talk about it a little bit more in later lessons that deal with grammar. Lastly, we have the only single consonant in the Japanese language, n. This n sound cannot stand alone and is usually surrounded by other hiragana in a word. In addition to the standard characters in hiragana, there are marks called Dakuten and Handakuten that are placed after a hiragana character to modify the way it is pronounced. So the character that originally represented ka, when the Dakuten marker is placed behind it, is changed to ga. Luckily, all of the characters in a row are changed the same way, so all the k consonants will change to g. The only exceptions to this is that shi turns to g, and chi also turns to g, and tsu turns to zu. Now, you may be wondering why both are pronounced G, and basically it comes down to the fact that in earlier Japanese language, these sounds were actually separate and distinct, but in modern language it has merged. However, there are still words that use each form of G even though they are pronounced almost the same way. The same goes for the zu from su and the zu from tsu. The handakuten are these small circles behind the hiragana characters that basically do the same thing as the dakuten, in that they change the pronunciation of the character. Handakuten is only used for the H row, and makes them have a P sound. Finally, we have combining hiragana. The only hiragana that can combine are the hiragana that end with the vowel I, such as hiri, ni, mi, etc. These hiragana will combine with either ya, yu, or yo. The ya, yu, and yo will always be the second part of the combination, and is written as a smaller character, similar to the small tsu. To pronounce these combinations, just get rid of the I sound and combine the consonant with either ya, yu, or yo. That's everything for hiragana. You'll find that katakana is just hiragana but written differently, so I won't really go over it. In order to remember and learn to read and write hiragana and katakana, I recommend pulling out a notebook or piece of paper and just write them down. Quiz yourself and say the sound of the character out loud and see if you get it correct. I will also have many links to resources to help you learn and remember hiragana and katakana in the description. Please check them out. I would recommend you learn all of your hiragana and some of the katakana before continuing on to the next video in this series, as I will be using strictly only hiragana and katakana and some kanji from here on out. Take your time, and good luck learning the basic phonetic writing system of Japanese.